And what is going on, Jets fans? This is Luca here from Gangrene Chronicles, and today I will be breaking down 4 key positional battles for the New York Jets heading into their final preseason game tonight against the Philadelphia Eagles at MetLife Stadium starting at 7 o'clock. But if you guys haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe. Also, comment down below. Give me your thoughts on the Jets, whether you agree with, disagree with my takes. Also, just on football in general. Hell, you can even give me video suggestion ideas if you want. But also, turn on the notification bell so when I go live or drop a new video. Regardless, let's get into the breakdown. Starting off with the defensive side of the trenches, I have the edge rusher position and the defensive tackle position for the New York Jets. I'm starting off with edge because of the recent injury to Rashad Weaver. He is out for the season for the New York Jets. He's going to be placed on season-ending injured reserve. The Jets signed him this past offseason to a 1-year deal to be a part of their depth. But it seems right now, with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald as starters, the Jets do not have any edge presence behind them. Major concern. So some names that they have currently in that group: Michael Clemens, 4th-year man out of Texas A&M, been pretty much underwhelming throughout camp. Still has those personal foul issues. Tyler Barron, rookie. Eric Watts and Brady McGregor, both UDFAs from last season, who made the Jets team out of camp last year. These 4 obviously need a big game. Brady McGregor and Eric Watts have been, I'd say, relatively quiet throughout training camp. Tyler Barron we haven't seen a lot of, and he's been relatively quiet. I mentioned Clemens earlier, but this is just one position that the New York Jets will need some contributors out of, with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald being the only edge rushers in the rotation this far that are key and solidified. Moving to the defensive tackle position, the Jets actually upgraded the unit on Wednesday with the acquisitions of Harrison Phillips and Juwan Briggs. Phillips from the Minnesota Vikings, Juwan Briggs from the Cleveland Browns. So you have your starting defensive tackle next to Quinn Williams, which is all fine and good. It makes me feel a lot better about the Jets' defensive line for the starters. But for the rotation, for the defensive line, the second rotation, it's a little bit concerning because the Jets, I already mentioned that the Jets do not have 2 edge rushers to back up Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. I mentioned that battle already. But in terms of the defensive tackles, yes, you have Juwan Briggs to stop the run. He's a better run stuffer than a pass rusher on the interior. And some names that you'll have battling for that second defensive tackle spot likely will be Jay Tuafeli, Derek Nnadi, Peyton Page, the UDFA out of Clemson, and Leonard Taylor, who made the Jets out of training camp last year. Now, we'll start with Tuafeli. He has had a solid preseason for the New York Jets. I think he's going to be my bet to make the second rotation for the New York Jets at defensive tackle. Derek Nnadi signed with the Jets in the offseason, and he's been a rather disappointment, rather underwhelming. He's been very quiet during camp, and he is likely, even though he's a veteran, he's likely on the outside looking in. Peyton Page, the UDFA, has made some noise, but I don't think it's as much noise as Leonard Taylor. I think Taylor will make the roster, and I think Jay Tuafeli will also make the roster. I think Peyton Page could be on the outside looking in. I think he ends up on the Jets practice squad, but regardless, those 4 players, Jay Tuafeli, Derek Nnadi, Peyton Page, and Leonard Taylor, are going to have some big games for the New York Jets tonight. Moving to the offense, we'll start out with the wide receiver position. I have 5 guys who will have to have a big game for the New York Jets, starting out with Brandon Smith, Quentin Skinner, Jamal Pritchett, Malachi Corley, and Xavier Gibson. So we'll start out with Gibson. He's been with the Jets for the past 3 years, since 2023, making the team out of camp. He's well known for the walk-off punt return touchdown against the Buffalo Bills, the same game where Aaron Rodgers unfortunately tore his Achilles. Regardless, since that moment, Gibson has basically been a one-hit wonder. He's been very skittish on punt returns, doesn't have a great feel for when to return the ball and not to when to return the ball, lack of vision. He also tends to fumble sometimes, so he's a very skittish kick returner. He doesn't add anything on offense either, so I see him likely being on his way out and ending his time with the New York Jets. Another guy who I see ending his time with the New York Jets and being on the way out is Malachi Corley. And it's quite a disappointment because the Jets traded up for this guy in the 3rd round last year of the 2024 NFL Draft. Corley was seen as the Yak King, and he's been anything but for the New York Jets since donning the gangrene uniform. Corley last year showed some flashes, but was also well known for dropping the ball before the goal line against the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Regardless, you put that aside, Corley has had a very quiet training camp, and the last game that the Jets played, which was against the Giants, he did not appear at the offense until the fourth quarter. He did take some punt returns in practice with the special teams unit, but otherwise he's not been that impressive for the New York Jets for him to vie for a roster spot. You have Jamal Pritchett, who's been returning kicks, or I should say returning punts for the New York Jets. I think he's going to stick right in that position for the New York Jets. I think he's going to be the same type of player that Xavier Gibson was 2 years ago for the Jets. I think he sticks. I think he makes the roster as a punt returner. Obviously, the kick returner position has already been filled with Kenny Nwangwu. I think he sticks as well. Quentin Skinner had a phenomenal catch and a very good game against the New York Giants. I think he sticks as well because of his sheer speed and his sheer route running ability to beat defenses deep. You have Brandon Smith as well, who I think would be good as a kind of special teams guy. He would be probably the back end of the roster as well, likely maybe sometimes an inactive. But in my opinion, Smith, I don't think he makes the roster. I think he's going to stick on the practice squad. He's been with the Jets for, I'd say, the offseason in the past year as well. Smith, I like his receiving ability, his ability to get crucial catches on third down, especially with what he did against Green Bay as well. But Smith, in my opinion, does not make the roster or the final 53, and he'll end up on the practice squad. But regardless, Smith, Quentin Skinner, Jamal Pritchett, Malachi Corley, and Xavier Gibson will have to have very good nights for the Jets to have them on their roster. And I threw a curveball for this final position, that being the quarterback spot. Yes, Tyrod Taylor is hurt. That is why I included the quarterback position. You have Adrian Martinez. You have Brady Cook. Brady Cook, UDFA out of Missouri, has showed some flashes. Adrian Martinez, who's been with the Jets since last year. And I think Martinez is going to be the favorite to stick on the roster if the Jets decide to carry three quarterbacks, or unless Tyrod Taylor is more hurt than the Jets let on. So Brady Cook, I thought he had a solid game against the Giants, not totally great. Martinez has some flashes as an air raid passer, not to the point where he's going to be like, oh, he's a high-level starter or an average starter or anything like that. I think he is going to be a future backup in this league, and I think he makes a very solid backup, even as such a young player like him. Martinez, in my opinion, makes the practice squad. Brady Cook doesn't make the Jets roster at all. And even I talked about in my last video when it came to the predictions as well, Martinez, I think, is good enough where the Jets might be a little afraid to have him on the practice squad where teams can swoop him up. But regardless, those two, Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook, will be vying for the quarterback position, possibly to play behind Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields, or even to play behind Justin Fields if Taylor is hurt more than the Jets let on. So I broke down the 4 key position battles for the New York Jets, and the reason I only came up with 4 is because Aaron Glenn said that the starters would not be playing for the final preseason game against the Eagles tonight. But if you guys haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, comment on my videos as well. Give me video suggestions, give me your feedback, thoughts, and everything would be much appreciated. Also, turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live or drop a new video. Regardless, I appreciate you all with the support. I'm out of here. Go Jets.